the last thing in my mind was after the game, I'm going to get to Zidane or Henry quick to get the shirt. I was that arrogant at the time, thinking, probably felt a bit disappointed they didn't ask for man.
Going into the final round of group games, all 4 of the teams could still qualify for the quarter-finals. England would play Croatia back in Lisbon and France would play Switzerland. After Croatia's impressive 2-2 draw with France, the England fans went into the game hopeful but maybe expecting a tense 90 minutes. So the fans are tense, Wayne, but what about you guys in the camp? Because it all comes down to this.
Yeah, we were focused obviously and was ready for a difficult game. So there's real focus and as you said there, all 4 teams could still qualify, so we knew if we go out and win the game, we're through. So there was real focus and determination.
A draw was enough, so you know you can't lose. Does that change the way the team prepares? Does that alter the mindset at all, or do you have to go out there and just try and win it?
Yeah, no, I think for us was go out and try and win the game, because it was if you're playing for a draw, you're doing things you don't really want to do, and you become a little bit negative and probably get put under a bit of pressure. So we went out to try and win the game, and obviously we went on and done that. What
was your standing like in the group at this point? Because you'd gone from being the new cap and then in the squad, now you could have got man of the match against the French, you score and do get it against the Swiss. Are you now starting to become, or have you become, a central figure in there, or not quite yet?
Yeah, no, I was the same really. I was very confident, very upbeat, and I couldn't wait for the games. I think Guy Neville spoke about it in the past, and how surprised he was. I was just constantly wanted the game the next day, and just ready for any game really. And yeah, I was the exact same as I was before the first game, just ready to go and try and win.
You mentioned earlier when we spoke, and I asked you about what David Beckham was like as a captain. What are you like around the group? I mean, obviously we see you on the pitch and we see the aggression, that will to win, that desire that you're never beaten in a game. But what are you like away from that? Were you a talker? Were you a presence? Did you chip in meetings? I mean, what was your personality around the group like at this point?
Yeah, I'd talk non-stop. To the point where I know I was probably annoying a lot of people as well. I'd constantly talk, and once this player had had enough, I'd go on to the next one. I'm just non-stop, yeah. So very energetic, and but then if there was meetings, I go very serious in the way I always have done, and give my opinion on things, which I've always done. And then obviously in team meetings, I'm taking all the information in and making sure that's stored, and so I know exactly what is expected of me. So yeah, I was fun and energetic, but very serious when it comes to the serious stuff. Would you say around the football then that you've got quite an analytical mind? Because there's various ways that managers can go about their work. You're a manager now. Many ways that players can go around their preparation. Were you quite analytical in terms of taking everything on board and processing? Yeah, I could take everything in. I remember everything. I've got a really good memory, and to the point where I think probably almost, if not every goal I scored, I remember details of them, and so yeah, I've got a really good memory. Like whenever you're captain of England or whatever, and before you're doing press conferences and they're briefing you on things, I don't need to see anything. I know exactly what I need to say, and that's one of my strengths, where I can take information in. What are you like with everything else? Because as a football commentator, I can remember, like you, information, facts, stats, moments in games, that all stays in there. But if my wife says, don't forget to do this, I forget, because I'm thinking about that. Do you take everything in, or are you a nightmare for Colleen here, but you can remember everything about the goals you've scored and everything else? Yeah, it depends what it is. It depends if I want to remember or not. No, I'm normally okay, and there is. Colleen's very diary driven, and so if I asked her something, she looked at the diary, where I tend to keep it here. So there are things at times you forget, but
Accidentally on purpose.
on a day-to-day basis. But yeah. No, from a football point of view, yeah, I remember everything.
Yeah. From a preparation standpoint, we talked a fair bit about Sven and what he was like and how he went about it. Obviously, Steve McLaren was there as a coach as well, who'd had a lot of success alongside Sir Alex at Manchester United during the treble-winning season, etc. What was he like? What was he like to work with, and how good were his sessions?
Yeah, Steve was really good as a coach, and it was a good balance in terms of obviously Sven with his Swedish coaches on one side, but then you had Steve, obviously English, on the other side as a coach, and really good coach in terms of the preparation we needed for games, and then obviously I worked with Steve later on my first managerial job at Derby. So yeah, Steve was really good, and he went in as manager and probably found it a bit more difficult because firstly we didn't qualify, so it probably cost him, but that's on the players as well. But yeah, as a coach, he was really good.
Is there someone that stands out for you over the years? I mean, obviously Sir Alex would be the most impactful person in that regard, but someone that kind of really stood out in terms of the football intelligence that they have, a coach that you work with that you learned a lot from.
Yeah, I think what stands out with Sven, I'm very similar as well in how I work as a manager in terms of getting to know the person. Every player is different, has different needs, has different ways about them. So you need to get to know each player individually to really figure out what they need, what triggers them, what gets them going. Sven was really good at that. Fergie, obviously, that was what he'd done, but Sven was really good at it. And I think it's important as well, when things do get tough, you stay calm, remain calm, and that's, for me, was Sven's biggest strength.
Yeah, I mean, the people that weren't calm in the Stadium of Light for this game in Lisbon were the England fans. I mean, I remember being in there, it almost felt like a home game. I mean, they were everywhere. I mean, the support you had for the Croatia game was kind of off the scale. It was really they were all starting to really believe, and it was really starting to build at this point.
Yeah, and I really liked that stadium. Obviously, I think the France game was there. Then against Switzerland, it was the one with like little mountain.
It was that by the way, is one of the most bizarre grounds I've ever been in. It was like all rocks behind the goal.
It was weird, yeah. And then before the Croatia game, we were back in the Stadium of Light, so I thought it was a great stadium. You could create a great atmosphere in there, and I always remember before all the games really was going off the warm-up, and that's when it hit you, and the fans all in there already, they're singing, and that's when it hit you, and obviously you're preparing the whole night, the whole morning for the game, but then when you run off that warm, that's when it hit you. What
was the coach like? The journeys in, was it your music on your headset, or was it on the bus? Was everybody chatting away? What was it like?
I didn't wear headphones, and then you had a few players who were filming on one of them free video cameras we got. Some players were filming, obviously, to take it in and stuff, but yeah, I like to talk on the way to games, and obviously the closer you get, the more fans you see, and so it was always great driving in and seeing that, and you really get the feel of the tournament and from when you're driving in.
I presume that's quite an important aspect of the whole preparation, isn't it? Taking that in, togetherness on the coach. I would think that's where a lot of great memories can come from.
Yeah, but also I think that's your time you prepare, and I used to have a process I'd go through the night before a game in terms of I'd have me evening meal, then I'd watch something, then I'd lie for maybe anything from an hour to 2 hours awake, visualising the game, and so that was always a process I went through before every game, my whole career. And then the morning of the game, I'm quite relaxed. Then that builds up, and then you get to the warm up, and your warm up for me was always the time to release any of your nerves and tension. And then after the warm-up, I was completely calm and focused. So it was like the process I went through from being here, going here, then coming back. So it was before every game.
Let's talk about the game, because all the visualisation, the pre-match meal, the journey in, they're ahead after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the pressure's on you because you know you can't lose. How did that feel? Was that a real kick in the teeth that early, or when you concede an early goal like that, do you kind of think, well, there's so much time left?
Yeah, it's not ideal, obviously.
No.
And then for your planning, all the plans we'd had, obviously, you're like, okay. And it's easy for players to panic as well and go away from your game plan. But I thought what we've done really well, we stuck to what our game plan was, and then obviously we got back into the game. But yeah, when you go down early on, it's always nervous because you know one more goal makes it very difficult.
Yeah, I didn't realise until I knew that we were going to sit down and talk about this tournament. Paul Scholes hadn't scored an England goal for 3 years prior to the game against Croatia until you set him up, which, when you think about the number of goals he scored down the years for Manchester United and for England, it would seem impossible, wouldn't it, to be in that England team and not score?
Yeah, he's probably off the left.
Well, yeah.
No, but yeah, it's you. Sometimes you go through periods where you don't score, but he got obviously such an important goal for us, and at the time he got the goal as well. It was a big goal for us to get us back in.
What about him? Because if you listen or read quotes from players like Zinedine Zidane, Andres Iniesta, they've got him at the top of the mountain in terms of playing that position. Paul Scholes, and obviously Sir Alex picked him all the time. As you've mentioned, we've talked about it, ended up on the left side for England, which a lot of people wouldn't agree with. How good was he?
Yeah, he was incredible. I think playing with him for as long as I did, you appreciate just how good he was, and very difficult. Like he was never the quickest, but so sharp in his brain. Very difficult to get the ball off him. You can get near him at times, and at the time of Euro 2004, he wasn't the player, in my opinion, which he became in terms of dictating games. So that's maybe why Sven's pushing him to the left, and all three of them probably wasn't the players they went on to become, to be fair. But Scholes then went on to become, as a number 6, incredible. The best player from that position I've played with.
Really? That good?
Yeah.
And the fact he was able to reinvent himself as he got older, I suppose, makes it more impressive. Because when he first got into the United team, he was at the top end of the pitch and a goal scorer.
It's easier to go backwards.
Right.
It's not as difficult physically. So obviously I drop back, and when you're playing as a centre forward, you're obviously high intense runs. You're having to make runs into the channel, everything to a high pace. Where when you're dropping into midfield, especially a number 6, it's more a one-paced role, if you like, and just your little sharp movements you need. So it is easier to drop back, but how he done it in terms of positionally putting himself in the right positions, brave to take the ball, dictating game for us, was massive for us, and incredible to be part of that team with him doing them. So
you'd made a goal for him, and then he returns the compliment to get England in front.
Yeah, it's, little pass inside, and then I dropped my shoulder and hit in. I think the ball moved a little bit, and the keeper got a little bit of his hand on it, but thankfully it went in.
So if we go back, I don't know whether you can do this off the top of your head. What's the best goal you scored for England?
In terms of just the goal, take the game, the importance of the game out, I'd probably say just before Euro 2004, scored against Iceland. It was like a half volley from about 25 yards out, which went into the top corner. So just in terms of a goal, I'd probably say that one.
And which was better, the bicycle kick or the volley against Newcastle? As a club goal? So
for me, the better goal was the Newcastle one, but just the importance of the game, the City one. So the Newcastle one is something I practiced every day.
Really?
We do that every day, yeah. So the Man City one's one which you can't really, you end up with a very sore back, but
Need a trampoline
you do
to
it
land
now
on.
and again, and the amount of times it doesn't pay off. The same with the Newcastle goals. Sometimes you catch it and it goes 50 yards over and stuff like that, but you keep practicing hitting it with the outside of your foot on the volley and getting it to come back a little bit. That stuff you practice, so you get more joy out of it.
How often would you practice things like that? Were you
Every
one
day.
that would stay behind after?
Yeah, we do it every day, and I do that, and then with other players, and then I go off on my own with the goalkeeper and Eric Steele, the goalie coach, and I practice me finishing from 12 yards to 6 yards out, 'cause that's where mainly you get most of your goals. So, but them ones you practice when they're great when they go in, but the importance of the other training I'm doing, which I like to do on my own, and after training, and it was really tiring, so I used to like to practice when I'm tired finishing, because a lot of the time when you're in that position you are fatigued and you have to practice them.
And then you get another one, 68 minutes, 3-1. Now there's a bit of breathing space. Now you can start to think, okay.
Yeah, again, Michael Owen assist. Played a nice one too, and I was clean through. And they're so difficult when you go through, because in that moment and you're running through and you're looking at the goalkeeper, you've got so many different options. Do you dink him? Do you go round him? Do you go left? Do you go right? Do you go through his legs?
So what are the keys then to get to the decision process, the final decision as to what the finish
so
is going to be?
all this is going on, all these options are going through your head. You're looking at the goalkeeper, you're looking at his positioning, so you're analysing exactly what's going on in front of you, and then to the point where then you get to a decision. And I knew I was clean through, and so I slowed myself down, opened my body up as if I was going to go to the keeper's left, knowing that he'd make a move, and then rolled it in the near corner. So yeah, but it's because you've got that much time and that many decisions, it's not instinctive at all. It's all measured, and they can be the more difficult ones.
And does everything kind of fall silent then, apart from this thought process, that everything else is subconsciously blocked out?
You don't, honestly, you don't hear nothing. Don't hear the crowd, you don't hear anything. It's only when the ball is back in the net then it erupts and whatever, but it's almost like you're almost going back to your training days when you practice that and you go through 1v1 keeper, and it's like no one's there, just you and the keeper.
You were really calm in situations like that, and I always thought that was a feature right the way through your career, that when you were there, you'd almost, well, you'll score. Were you always like that, from being really small? Did you just have that ability to retain that calmness in situations like that?
No, I think there was a lot of practice on it. As I said before, I used to always work on it, and constantly working on it, trying to, because the amount of times I've done it myself, and the amount of times you see players snatching the chances and they're not set, the body position's not set, and I always think sometimes you've got a lot more time than you think in the penalty area, so just taking that touch at times, you can really compose yourself, and it makes it a lot easier.
You ended up winning the game 4-2. What was the emotion like at full time? Whistle goes, you know you're through. Not an easy group, as you said. All four teams would have gone into it thinking they could qualify. But despite losing the first match, you're through. So what are you feeling like now?
Who've we got?
Yeah.
So I think it was it Greece and Portugal?
Yeah, you could get either or.
Yeah, so Greece and Portugal, and I think naturally you would have preferred Greece when you're looking at the two teams, but obviously what happened, they knocked France out, and but yeah, then you get Portugal at home at the back of the Stadium of Light. Very tough game, and so again you're going through the process of next day recovery, ice bath, recovery session. You're waiting, I think we were waiting, or we probably will have known then, where we were playing and what day we were playing on, so then your preparation starts again. We're
going to leave the Portugal match for episode 4 because there's so much to talk about in there. Is there any time at any stage to have even the slightest thought of celebrating where you are, or can you not even afford to do that at this stage of the tournament?
No, it was all the same, and it's what I said. It's pretty robotic, or quite. It can be, because it's the same. There's no change really, and you get through. You're celebrating on the pitch and in the dressing room. You're happy and whatever. But then you're back to the hotel. You have your food. You go to bed. The night of the game, you might sit up a bit longer and talking with your teammates and stuff. But you're in bed, your recovery session. Again, it's the same routine really, and it's only after the last game when you had which we never done, win it, or you go out there. Actually, that night everyone goes back to the hotel and everyone has a beer and relaxes, whatever. You're either gutted or you're delighted, whatever. And every time we were gutted, and at this point we were out. But yeah, it was all the same preparations after each game until obviously you went home.
And as we've already mentioned in a previous episode, you're expected to get through at this point because you're England, so you're not going to get a great deal of praise from anywhere until you get further. So
so this is really where the tournament starts.
Yeah,
now. You're in knockout stages, and that's when the tournament starts for us.
You must be pumped now, though. Your first tournament, you played well against the French. You've scored 2 against the Swiss, 2 against. You must feel like Superman now.
Yeah, I'm honestly thinking there's no team going to beat us. I'm thinking we're going to win this tournament. That's 100% how I felt.
Just out of interest, were you a shirt swapper? Did you bother with that?
I didn't know. If people asked for my shirt, I'd give them it. But I never really asked it. It was only when I was a bit older, I had kids, really.
Were they giving you a list?
Yeah, they would ask me to ask people for shirts, but I very rarely. When I asked Shearer, I think probably the only one at this time was Alan Shearer, when we played Newcastle for Everton.
I can't believe he didn't get Zinedine Zidane's after the first game.
I weren't interested in it.
No.
I think before that game, I was preparing, to go and beat them and upset them, and that was the last thing on my mind. I weren't interested in any of the shirts at that time. It'd be nice now to have got, but I weren't really interested.
Does that give us a little insight into your head, though? The fact that you weren't bothered about these people. Does that maybe give us the insight into why, as such a young player, you could go and do what you did? Because these people weren't on a pedestal for you. They were just opponents on a pitch, and I don't need your shirt.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course I had great respect for them and them as players, but I wanted to beat them so bad. The last thing in my mind was, after the game, I'm going to get to Zidane or Henry quick to get the shirt out. And to be honest, I was quite arrogant as well. I was probably that arrogant at the time, thinking, probably felt a bit disappointed they didn't ask for man.
I love that.
And that will have been I can't remember, but back then that will have been my mindset.
Yeah. And did it in some way give you a psychological edge over those who did run up to you at full time and say, wait, can I get your shirt?
No, I'd always respected any player who come up and asked for my shirt, and even to the point like we play in Andorra, and I remember one of the players come and ask for my shirt, and I give him the shirt and he give me his, and I've seen players do it, he just throw it into the kit and they're not interested, where I'd always show respect to it and take it home and keep the shirt, because it's just out of respect as well. Not that I necessarily wanted it, but...
So somewhere here in this house is an Andorra shirt, but not a Zinedine Zidane one.
Yeah, there will be, but yeah, so...
Whatever we talk about in episode 4, nothing's going to impress me more than you saying, as an 18-year-old kid, I was a bit disappointed they didn't want mine. That's just fantastic. That just tells us everything. Wayne, it's been absolutely fascinating. England through the group. So for the final part of the podcast, it's on to the quarterfinals, a match against the host Portugal and their very own teenage sensation, Cristiano Ronaldo.